So the first full day of the confirmation hearings in the Senate for, let's be honest here, the ninth and the newest member of the Supreme Court of the United States of America is happening right now for Ketanji Brown Jackson, and I'd be lying to you guys if I said that I watched any significant amount of time of today's proceedings. We're just going to go through a couple of the headlines as to what questions were asked, how much pandering was doled out, and the one time that I did peer into these unadulteratedly boring proceedings, it was Chris Coons lapping the ass of said Jackson here, and it was really, really ridiculous. Let me just summarize what I heard there. The Republicans are saying that you cannot be an impartial justice because of your connections with Hillary Clinton. But let me just point to you this one case, and let me ask you a question, by the way. You ruled on a case in 2016, well before the election, and you said that emails could be produced from Hillary Clinton. Now, see, that clearly makes you nonpartisan. No further questions. Is like, cool, thanks for that. And again, all of this is just gonna fall down on the lines unless, of course, she just absolutely fucking face plants. She's gonna get confirmed 51-50. You can thank former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid for reducing the amount of necessary confirmation votes to appoint a Supreme Court justice to just a simple majority. Hey, them be the fucking breaks. You gotta play by both fucking sides of this when you decide on things. That's why you don't really hear, now that we're getting a little bit closer to 2022, the Democrats calling for the abolition of the filibuster, because they're gonna realize that, oh fuck, we might be needing that a lot sooner than we really anticipated. That's why they were so gung-ho pushing their agenda to begin with, because hey, if they could get everything that they wanted beforehand, yeah, they could get rid of the filibuster because they'd have one party rule just like they have in places like California, up and down the east and west coast. But whatever, that's not the point of this video. We're talking about Ketanji Jackson, Brown Jack. I don't really know what she likes to go by. KBJ is just as much of a mouthful as saying her entire name is. The abbreviation sucks ass, but I don't know, man. Is she a radical? Not any more so than anybody else who grew up in the swamp, lives in the swamps, breathes in the swamps, and fucking works in the swamp is. It's like, okay, cool. Is she the establishment pick? Yes, very much so, because, like I said, she has connections to Hillary Clinton. She was also somebody who previously clerked for Stephen Breyer, okay, worked for Joe Biden in some form or fashion. She was the one who was always going to get picked. She's the neo-lib favorite, and them be the ones in charge right now, so really don't be too terribly thrown off the scent by the fact that, yeah, she's backed by leftist donors. No shit. Former Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham, who really pissed off because I made a bit of an error in one of the previous Jackson videos that I did, said that, yeah, Lindsey Graham was already going to support her, so all of these hearings were basically moot. That was the other suspected nominee, the one that Clyburn, the the House Majority Whip, he was grooming to be the nominee, and everybody there's from South Carolina, and it would have been just a shoe-in. That was the one that Graham was pulling for, as well as, yeah, several other questionable things out of South Carolina, but because that's not the pick anymore, it's a little bit more questionable, but let's be honest, the fucking votes are still there for the Democrats. Anyways, but yeah, since his name came up, felt like I needed to clarify that for a second, so. And other Republicans, by the way, pointed out Monday that leftist dark money groups, and that's racism, have backed Ketanji Brown Jackson's bid for the Supreme Court. Leftist dark money groups, okay, which ones? Okay, you can't just say it if you don't provide any receipts. The Progressive Judicial Group Demand Justice has pushed Jackson to serve on the D.C. Circuit Court and for her to serve in the Supreme Court. Okay, cool. How much have they donated? I don't care who they advocate for. It just, what are they spending money? Who are they? And how is it relevant? Demand Justice has already announced a $1 million ad campaign to support for Jackson. Yeah, that's fine. They do that for literally anybody who is black and female. The group had a projected budget of $7.5 million for 2022. Okay, cool. So they're still leaving 6.5 million on the table because they have to campaign for a bunch of fucking leftist weirdos at the end of the year. Okay, fine. Demand Justice is one of the several leftist dark money groups as documented by Breitbart. That's fine. Rhode Island. Oh yes, Mr. All White Country Club. Sheldon Whitehouse claimed during the Supreme Court nomination hearings on Monday that the current Supreme Court is built by dark money. See, everybody's doing it, so what the fuck are you asking any questions about? So, again, it's like the establishment gonna establishment, okay? You're gonna be getting fucking questionable sources for backing, okay? I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying that's reality. You're going to be getting those bog standard questions from and you're going to have questionable income sources. Whether it would be a right-leaning candidate, you're going to be getting Koch brothers and maybe Peter Thiel if you get a based fucking Supreme Court nominee. Or then on the leftist side of the equation, you get places like Demand Justice and George Soros. So again, it's like I find it really difficult to care because it's just so entrenched and it's so very fucking bog standard. So shift gears a little bit, and you got Ted Cruz asking some questions here earlier today about CRT and what she was thinking about it in today's day and age, because last time we went over this, we talked about a Michigan University law school speech that she gave, where a lot of winks and nods were given to critical race theory and its founding fathers or non-binary parents, whatever the fuck it is. But Ted Cruz was asking some questions. I seen he had a couple of slides and a few fucking standouts on his little easel back there, and it was all very cute and it was all very showy. But at the end of the day, you had your 10 minutes, you made your fucking stink, and then nobody's gonna remember it tomorrow. But let's see what he asked. Ted Cruz questions Supreme Court Judge nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson about her support of the 1619 Project. Yeah, people, okay, it doesn't matter if you're a judge or not. A lot of people read fiction and critical race theory. During her confirmation hearing on Tuesday, catching her in several contradictions. Oh, you know that Ted, he does a lot of blustering in these Senate hearings, but what does it ever amount to? Anyways, as Breitbart News has reported, Judge Jackson delivered a speech in 2020 when she praised the 1619 Project, which falsely claims the American Revolution was fought to preserve slavery and, the black people enslaved for like 9,000 years or whatever the fuck it is, and they probably built the pyramids and we was kangs and all that nonsense. And critical race theory, which holds the American institutions are systemically racist. That's why a black woman is there. But then you could also argue she's the only there because she is a black woman. But again, it's all cyclical. Anyways, she also supported protests linked with anti-police Black Lives Matter movement. That's, I don't know, man. Like they said, oh, this is one of her favorite pictures, and it's from a Black Lives Matter protest. It's like, there's a lot of, I know this might be controversial as well. There's a lot of peaceful pictures from those mostly peaceful protests. It's just, a lot of them have this weird conclusion to most of them where they just kind of descend into firebombing and rioting and looting. It's just weird. Asked about the 1619 Project, Judge Jackson professed not to have known about it. Not to have known it had been debunked. Oh, she just unquestionably believed it? Oh God, yeah, no, that makes a lot more sense now to realize that a lot of her landmark decisions and all of her big cases have mostly been overturned. She's not that bright. She also said critical race theory was a mere academic theory. It's just a theory like Antifa's just a myth and it's just an idea about the ways in which race interacts with various institutions. That sounds highly necessary for a judge who's just supposed to be there to interpret the law as it's written. It doesn't come up in my work as a judge. You'd hope so, except for when she just opens her yap, then it tends to fall out. So that's pretty important. If you're thinking about it that often, don't you think that it's going to be clouding your judgments in some form or fashion? She added that she did not intend to bring it to the work as a potential Supreme Court justice. Yeah, that's what a leftist would say to infiltrate the institutions. Am I right, guys? Cruz then quoted a speech Judge Jackson delivered in 2015 to students in which she said that critical race theory affected a sentencing policy. Aha! Judge Jackson tried to distinguish between her work as a judge and work in federal sentencing commission. It seems pretty interlinked, just saying, though, as a federal judge, she would have to apply these policies to a sentencing commission in her work. Yeah, exactly. As a judge, she's kind of responsible for handing out the sentencing. Just saying. Later, Cruz asked Judge Jackson whether she believed critical race theory was being taught or should be taught in the schools. I don't know. I'm just a judge. I just ask questions. Judge Jackson said she did not believe it was being taught. Yeah, Sure does make sense that you would think that, huh? He then presented evidence that critical race theory is being used in classroom materials at the Georgetown private school, in which she is a board member. In an uncomfortable exchange, Judge Jackson backtracked, saying that she thought he was only referring to public schools and not private schools. Wait, what? Do you think it's being taught in schools? No, it's actually being taught at the school that you're on the board for. Oh, I thought you were meaning schools that I'm not aware of. Oh, okay, cool. Then I don't know what's not being taught at places I don't know about, but at the places that I do, we just move on to the next one. Can we just have more praise from the likes of old fucking Spartacus here, saying that Ketanji Brown Jackson is like Jackie Robinson? How exactly? She have an affinity for baseball bats? Oh god. Okay, so Cory Booker was on MSNBC's The Readout with stupid ass Joy Reid. You can play the clip at your own leisure if you just want to try to work up the courage to tie the noose and throw it over the rafter. Booker said, well, after he said that he felt the emotion flowing through me from ancestors and generations that made this day possible. Meanwhile, Clarence Thomas is in the hospital coughing up a fucking lung, going like, what the fuck? Where was all this emotion, you bitch? Anyways, Booker said, I was overwhelmed. As soon as she began, I felt the emotion throwing through me from ancestors and generations that made this day possible. I know that there are a lot of normal politics going back and forth, and I had to stop for a second. Oh, this is a great day for our country. It was such a great day. It was like my Spartacus moment all over again. I just think that it's going to shine throughout the hearings because she's an exceptional human being, one. She's eminently qualified, too. Yes, she is a judge, and she is a citizen of the United States of America. She is eminently qualified. Actually, what was it? Kagan was only the head of Harvard Law, and she was never actually a judge. So theoretically, all you need to be is just a citizen of the United States to be uniquely and eminently qualified. So yeah, whatever. I sat with her. She has got grit and grace. Oh, of course, she's all things to all people. She is just the omnipotent KBJ, right? I think she's going to show America the power of her character this week. Ugh, who gives a living fuck? Now, he added the reality is Joe Biden did what Ronald Reagan did by saying, hey, look, we have excluded large percentages of our population, if not the majority. It's about time we reach deep into the well, quality and genius and the talent, and create credentials for black women and show she's like Jackie Robinson, probably overqualified to be in the National Baseball League. But he came forward and showed us a full of talent and an array of American potential is. Wow. Okay, so he's like functionally retarded on multiple levels. I'll just dig into my sports bag for a minute before we get to the whole, oh yeah, Ronald Reagan appointing the first ever black person to ever do anything ever, which is, oh god, if he wanted to tout the achievements of his political party, all he'd have to do is just take a look at Thurgood Marshall. Sorry, that name's tough to say. He was the first ever African American to be appointed to the Supreme Court, and he was by old Third Eye Kennedy. So, again, his grasp on history's about as good as his grasp on looking straight forward. But Jackie Robinson wasn't the best or the most talented player in the Negro Leagues. Sorry about that. That was guys like Warren Spahn, who were probably as good, if not better, than a lot of the pitchers in the major leagues at the time. So if they were specifically going for the guy who was most tailor-made to be a star in the league, they wouldn't have picked Jackie Robinson. He was just the guy with the right temperament to be there, and he was the guy who could take all the abuse at the forefront. This is nothing like that. All she's getting is effusive fucking praise for literally being black and a woman. Stunning and brave. But what kind of fucking criticism and what kind of analysis can you expect from stupid Cory Booker? God, he's an embarrassment. Not as much as the entire left, though, which Josh Hawley, which, remember, he drudged up all of those decisions that Judge Jackson had made in regards to her leniency when it comes to child porn. Something that should be addressed, and in fact was addressed today, which is, very good and very, very unrepublican. Okay, not for the fact that they should bring it up or anything like that. They definitely should. It's just they aren't exactly the strongest party when it comes to following through on what they should do. But hey, they did today. So you know what? Hey, they were going to face backlash. And of course, because they couldn't delve deep into that whole Russian disinformation treasure trove, what were they going to do? Well, let's evoke something completely dead, completely gone, something you probably haven't heard about in well over a year and change at this point. Clearly, Josh Hawley is a QAnon supporter. Remember that? God, they're just such desperate people. Far-left media invoked QAnon conspiracy theories after Josh Hawley exposed Ketanji Brown Jackson's pattern of letting child porn offenders off the hook for their appalling crimes. Vox's Ian Milheiser described Hawley's thread as a stunningly inflammatory charge reminiscent of conspiracy theories such as QAnon or Pizzagate. What conspiracy theories? He was pointing to shit that's literally written down, decisions that she handed out on 5 separate occasions, excerpts from papers that she wrote at various times in her career. What's conspiratorial about this at all? Just simply pointing out that, hey, she just kind of goes under the sentencing guidelines on a shocking amount of child porn charges. It's just fucking weird. But no. That's a conspiracy theory to Vox. No, the only conspiracy theory is that people still continue to go to Vox.com. MSNBC's Joy Reid's blog. Oh, God, I couldn't think of a more cancer-inducing outlet. Also attempted to link Hawley with QAnon, so I guess that must be the recent NPC update. Because of this thread, the Readout blog claimed Hawley's allegations hew closely to claims we've heard from QAnon conspiracy theorists. Again, all of these vague associations, we'll just leave you guys to connect the dots on this one. But now that we got all of the fucking bitching and moaning and whining and complaining out of the way, why are they doing it? Because she's very lenient when it comes to child porn convictions and sentencing to be handed out. During her second day of confirmation hearings in the Senate, Ketanji Brown Jackson denied the charge that she had been too lenient on child porn offenders. The charge was first levied against Jackson by Josh Hawley. I've been researching the record of Ketanji Brown Jackson regarding her opinions, articles, interviews, and speeches, Hawley wrote. I've noticed an alarming pattern when it comes to Judge Jackson's treatment of sex offenders, especially those preying on children. Prior to becoming a federal appellate judge, Jackson served on the U.S. Sentencing Commission, a group created in 1984, how apropos, for the stated purpose of reducing sentencing disparities and promoting transparency and proportionality in sentencing. As a member of the U.S. Sentencing Commission, Jackson advocated for drastic change in how the law treats sex offenders by eliminating the existing mandatory minimum sentences for child porn. You can see another reason why she drew the attention of Joe Biden. Just saying. He might have a vested interest based on some of the dalliances when it comes to his eldest child. When she was appointed to the bench, Jackson put her troubling views into action. And this, of course, just re-goes over the Twitter thread, which we've gone through again. And the video's not that old. I think it's over here. I think it's on YouTube. Or we might have gone over that when I was suspended, and that's over on Rumble. One of the places, if you guys are watching on Rumble, that's terrific and that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Big ups to that group that's over there. You guys, it's weird, right? Because I have big hitters on YouTube videos, the content itself. Some videos just take off and then they just die a death over on Rumble. And then I go and take a look at some of the content from like a week ago and even before or just a little bit after the ban. And stuff that just takes off over there does absolutely dick all on YouTube. It's just fucking weird. It really does let me know that there's attention and desire for a differentiation of content depending on where you're at. So that aside, on March 22nd, hey, that's today, Jackson defended herself from the charges when asked about them by Senate Judiciary Chairman Dick Sucker Durbin, explaining her reasoning for giving lighter sentences, but not rejecting the contention that she had given out lighter sentences. Oh, I did this because I think it's not good, and the purpose of the the prison system is to rehabilitate and it's not to punish, or whatever fucking nonsense she'd be saying as well. The guideline was based originally on statutory scheme and specific directives by Congress at a time when more serious child porn offenders were identified based on volume, based on the number of photographs and that they received in the mail. Yeah, and again, some of those cases, okay, actually, I'm not too sure if it was most of them, but it was a couple of them that Holly brought up in his Twitter feed, or in his Twitter thread, sorry. The people that she was giving lighter sentences to had hundreds, and some cases, thousands of photographs. But because these original sentences were discovered and they were figured out and settled upon back when people were getting Polaroids in the mail, we need to go ahead and change that and update that because the laws are ever evolving, right? Ugh. It made total sense before, when we didn't have the internet, but when we didn't have distribution. Just because it's easier to do now, that makes it better. Okay, that's big think right there. But the way the guideline is now structured based on that set of circumstances is leading to extreme disparities in the system because it is so easy for people to get volumes of that kind of material now by computers. Of course, you just can't help but go on the internet. It's like I just have to, every time a pop-up comes up, they just want to keep giving everybody child porn. You have to dodge it in order to get to anywhere that you want. You type in youtube.com and then immediately it just redirects you to just some awful shit. But I could understand that, especially if you're on Twitter or something, which is the biggest promoter and distributor of child porn on the web. Anyways, only second to Facebook, by the way. So that's not the work of differentiating who is a more serious offender from the way that they used to. So the commission has taken that into account, and perhaps even more importantly, courts are adjusting their sentencing in order to account for the changed circumstances. They still have thousands of images of child porn. Why are you trying to incentivize this with lower fucking sentences? It makes zero fucking sense. Unless, of course, you just think that normalizing pedophilia is totally alright with you. And if you do, like I said, pick your poison. Literally, wall, a noose, 40, 45, 50, buckshot or slug, be my guest. Judges should abandon the prevention punishment analysis that rely on the legislative intent, assess the excessiveness of the sex offender statute punitive effects in favor of more principled approach to characterization. Jackson wrote that should set her on fire for that, yeah. We shouldn't worry about prevention and punishment. We should just lighter sentences because who sends pictures through the mail anymore? Let's be fair. So I said that the Republicans were asking about this, but it looked like Dick Durbin tried to get out ahead of it. But hopefully somebody asks those questions about it. And I don't know, maybe because this is supposed to go at least through the end of the week, these confirmation hearings. Somebody better fucking bring this up again for further clarification because that was lacking, to say the least. So what are some other very important fundamental things when it comes to the efficacy of a Supreme Court justice? Well, an understanding of the Constitution, of course. I think that that's probably number one with a bullet. And for her most lenient of convicts, a bullet is apropos. But in an understanding of the United States Constitution, there's that First Amendment that's right there. And they should probably have a fairly good understanding of that one, considering it's number one, and it's there for a reason. The Founding Fathers spent weeks deliberating on the order of the amendments that are there, but I'm sure she's probably one of these living constitutional interpreters. But according to Alan Dershowitz, she has a very tenuous grasp on the First Amendment. He tells a tale here about a couple of students and who Ketanji Brown Jackson supported in said story. And it shouldn't be surprising to you, but it should be shocking for somebody who says, I just read the law and I interpret it as the law says. But then it should also shine a light into the fact that, like I said, a lot of her big cases just end up getting overturned because she's bad at her job. When Ketanji Brown Jackson, this is written by Alan Dershowitz, was at Harvard 30 years ago, a white student whose family had supported the Confederacy despite their opposition to slavery, decided to fly a Confederate flag from her dorm window. She said her motivation was to stimulate a conversation about the complexity of the Confederacy. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't specifically all about slavery, you fucking simpletons who think that. Okay, but whatever. As you can imagine, her actions simulated outrage among many students of all races and ethnicities. One African-American student responded to the Confederate flag by flying a Nazi flag from her dorm window. So even back in the 90s, people were fucking brain dead too. Oh, Confederate flag is just a Nazi flag with just fewer colors. And like, yeah, okay, cool. Not to show support for Nazism, but to make students whose families were victimized by Nazis better understand why the descendants of slaves reacted so strongly to flags that symbolize their enslavement. So instead, having that conversation that flying a Confederate flag was hoping to stimulate, you just got a copycat who just wanted to shut you down. Harvard in the 90s, kids. That's exactly where all this political correct nonsense was gestating to begin with. The Black Student Association demanded that Harvard prohibit the flying of such deeply offensive flags, claiming that it showed the students of color were not welcome at Harvard. God. Okay, I have to tell hypothetical students 30 years ago at an institution that I'll probably never ever walk the grounds of in my entire life, nor am I aspiring to do as much. But there were black people fighting on both sides of the Confederacy. So to say that it was just merely a white-black divide for the Civil War is ridiculous. And if you think that students of color would have not been welcomed by a Nazi flag, just take a look at the alliances that the Nazis were drumming up, especially in the Middle East. Palestinians, first and foremost, they're a little bit more inclusive than you'd think. But whatever, this fucking basic bitch take of historical events is a condemnation of the public school systems, or I guess private school systems. These are alleged Harvard law students anyways. A woman flying the Confederate flag asked me to defend her freedom to fly the flag. And remember, this is Alan Dershowitz. Dershowitz, in case you don't know, is a big Jew. So he was asked to defend somebody flying a Nazi flag and a Confederate flag. So morally, he might not want to, but I think you're probably going to know where he's going to go with this if you understand and you know who Alan Dershowitz is. I urged her to take it down, but I agreed to defend her her free speech right to do the wrong thing, just as I defended the right of Nazis to display their horrible symbols on the streets of Skokie, Illinois, and other locations. I understand that Harvard is a private university, whereas Skokie is a governmental entity bound by the First Amendment, but Harvard has committed itself to be governed by the spirit of the First Amendment. Oh, poor Alan. And freedom of expression is an essential at a university, as it is the government's. Actually, there was a very bright young woman on the grounds of Yale a few years back talking about how Halloween costumes were so offensive and that universities weren't about a place of education. They were about making a home here. And if you can't do that, who the fuck elected you? Just to clear that up for the Professor Emeritus for Harvard Law. One of the students who demanded the removal of the flags was Ketanji Brown Jackson. Cool. I don't recall having encountered her individually, but I did speak to the group of student protesters trying to explain the case for not censoring even the most reprehensible symbols of hate. I don't know whether she heard my talk, but I do know that she was aware of the free speech argument that was being made by me and few others, and that persuaded the Harvard authorities to reject the demands of the protesters to allow the flags to fly, while urging all students to take more account of the feelings and sensitivities of others. Several years later, I successfully defended the rights of Palestinian students to fly the flag of the Palestine Liberation Organization, whose expressed modus operandi is to kill all the Jews, despite the offensiveness to many Jewish students. Yeah, no shit. So again, he's a pretty principled man when it comes to the First Amendment, unlike Ketanji Brown Jackson, which feelings are a little bit higher than constitutional amendments, which should bother people. So it is my view then, and it is the view now, that young Ketanji Brown Jackson was on the wrong side of a complex and difficult conflict when she was a student. I don't know how she would deal now as a justice if such a conflict between freedom of expression and the understandable claim of students or other protesters. But I would not judge her by which side she supported as a young student. The 30-year-old episode provides a basis for asking questions about her current constitutional views regarding the First Amendment, but not only Oh, but not for necessarily assuming what her answer will be. Judge Jackson's current approach to the First Amendment is highly relevant to her sustainability to sit on the nation's highest court, especially at a time when so many progressives, woke, and even liberal people are in favor of weakening freedom of expression when it comes in conflict to the claims of racial inequity and hate speech. I would hope her views have matured and that she understands that the First Amendment was designed to protect even the most offensive expressions, even against the most understandable of claims. I strongly support Judge Jackson's nomination on the current record because she is highly qualified by her education, work experience. Yeah, she's worked a lot of places, including as a public defender, and her judicial record. Yeah, that's what people hold up. Oh, she worked in the public defender's office. Yeah, for a couple of years. Cool. Joe Biden was also in private practice for a couple of minutes. But I would not support the confirmation of a judicial nominee who would weaken the First Amendment at a time when it is under attack from so many quarters. Pretty fair, pretty fair. And again, like he says here and lines out, okay, this is one instance from 30 years ago, but where do all of these awful ideas gestate? In the universities. And how are they blossoming out right now? From all of the idiots who graduated from those universities, where all of these ideas were just supposed to stay at, and that people would enter the real world, and that they'd go to grow up from their stupid ideas. Well, that shit didn't fucking happen. And now we have Supreme Court nominees that are just nominated based on their genitalia and skin color. So if she doesn't answer for that as well, you can kind of guess what her take on the First Amendment would be in today's day and age. But until we know a little bit more about today and tomorrow's proceedings, that's where we're going to leave it for today. The video's long enough as it is, and I don't think anybody's really going to care about this because I barely do myself. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. Why don't you follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.